The evolution of India as a unique society can be attributed to the ancient concept of Vasudev Kutumbakam, meaning the whole world is one family. This unity had aroused feelings of tolerance towards freedom of expression and knowledge. Rishis like Varahamir, Aryabhat, Vagbhat, Sushrut contributed towards the proliferation of knowledge of highest value and had put India at the forefront of all scientific developments and advancement. Owing to the immense royal patronage provided for science, advancement of its knowledge and application of science in daily lives became a common factor in Indian society. When the whole of Western society was in darkness, India rose high and shone as the golden sparrow of the globe. The discovery of various scientific facts and the development of scientific concepts and technologies gave rise to a new age that could keep India in the forefront of the knowledge hub for centuries. Through this program, we intend to imbibe in the viewers the vision of our ancient scientists and sages who could achieve highly with available resources. They were people of great vision, value, wisdom, purity, and compassion. Viewers would feel inspired from the generosity with which the benefit of such scientific knowledge was shared for social and national progress. The splendor of the night sky provides a beauty that is immediately endearing and captivating. Heavens have fascinated humans from the earliest period. Today, of course, we divide the study of heavens into several levels of atmosphere, the near-Earth sky, solar system, and the astronomy of objects beyond. This is a recent phenomenon in human history, no more than 400 years old. Until recently, everything that was not terrestrial was called astronomical. This subject of astronomy has had a profound effect on humans. It has taught us science and given us the first stepping stones of scientific work of systematic observation, correlation, long-term follow-up, and objective analysis. However, in India, the beginnings of astronomy are not adequately documented. The first astronomical objects were found in the Andamans. These were the lunar calendar sticks belonging to the Paleolithic era, some 12,000 years ago. They were used to note the waxing and waning of the moon by incising daily notches on a wooden stick. Waxing is the apparent increase and waning is the decrease of the moon's disk from new moon to full moon and back in the course of a lunar month. Patterns of rock art found in Kashmir, such as a double sun or concentric circles, have convinced some scholars that they were depictions of a supernova and meteor showers, perhaps witnessed some 7,000 years ago. Ringstones found at Mohenjo-daro, the largest city of the Indus civilization, which exhibit rows of small drilled holes, have been interpreted as calendrical devices keeping track of the sunrise at different times of the year. The perfect east-west alignment of streets in the same city has been attributed to the sighting of the star cluster Pleiades Kritika. Hence, it is well recognized that ancient people everywhere felt a need to relate to the universe by tuning into the rhythms of celestial objects. A few thousand years ago, the Rig Veda, the oldest of the four Vedas, spoke of a year of 360 days divided into 12 equal parts and used a 5-year yuga, probably as a first attempt to reconcile the lunar and solar years by addition of a month after those 5 years. It clearly recorded a solar eclipse, although in a metaphorical language, and it has recently been proposed that its mention of 3,339 gods was actually a reference to the 18-year cycle of eclipses known as the Saros. This points to a very early tradition of astronomical observation. A few centuries later, the Yajur Veda considered a lunar year of 354 days and a solar year of 365 days and divided the year into 6 ritus or seasons of 2 months each. The Yajur Veda also gave the first list of 27 nakshatras or lunar mansions, that is, constellations along the path of the moon on the celestial sphere. Because of the need to keep time for the proper conduct of rituals, calendrical astronomy grew more sophisticated in the late Vedic period, with the Vedang Jyotish of Lagda as its representative text, which may also be called as the first extant Indian scientific text. On the basis of its own astronomical data, it has been dated between the 12th and the 14th centuries BCE by most scholars. The length of the sidereal day, that is, the time taken by the Earth to complete one revolution with respect to any given star it uses is 23 hours, 56 minutes and 4.6 seconds, while the correct value is 23 hours, 56 minutes and 4.091 seconds. The tiny difference is an indication of the precision reached in that early age. The Vedang Jyotish also discusses solstices and equinoxes and uses 2 intercalary lunar months to catch up with the solar calendar. In some ways, this text remains the foundation for India's traditional lunisolar calendars. What may be called the second period of Indian astronomy extended from the 3rd century BCE to the 1st century CE and was marked by astronomical computations based on the risings and settings of planets, their revolutions, etc. Jain astronomy also developed in this period, based on a peculiar model of 2 sets of 27 nakshatras, 2 suns and 2 moons. It nevertheless resulted in precise calendrical calculations. This is also the period when huge scales of time were conceived of, such as a day of Brahma or Kalpa of 4.32 billion years, which curiously comes close to the age of the Earth, that is 4.54 billion years. Although there are much longer time scales to be found in Jain texts and the Purans. A few centuries BCE witnessed introduction of the 7-day week. Later, Vedic India divided the month only into 2 lunar fortnights or Paksh, one light and one dark. It was also the time of introduction of the zodiac of 12 signs, Rashis, first recorded in the Yavan Jataka. Beginning in the 5th century CE was the golden age of Indian mathematics and astronomy called the Siddhantic era, when texts called Siddhantas were composed, a Sanskrit word meaning principle or conclusion. Their chief characteristic were the use of trigonometric methods and epicyclic models for the computations of planetary positions. Aryabhat, working near what is today Patna, ushered in this era with his Aryabhatiya, which dealt concisely but systematically with developments in mathematics and astronomy. Among other things, it discussed units of time and features of celestial sphere, described the Earth as a rotating sphere hanging in space, and produced a table of the planets' mean positions. Aryabhat also gave a correct explanation for both lunar and solar eclipses and stated that the diameter of the Earth is 1050 yojans. This is close to the actual dimension, though 12% too large. In 505 CE, Varamir, Aryabhat's contemporary, composed a collection of 5 astronomical texts prevalent during his time. One of the 5 texts, the Surya Siddhant, was revised later and became a fundamental text of Indian astronomy. Varamir extensively discussed the revolutions of planets, eclipses, and the zodiac, often with an astrological background. Brahmagupta mistakenly rejected view of the Earth as rotating sphere, but contributed much to calculations of the mean and true longitudes of planets, conjunctions, and problems of lunar and solar eclipses, applying to all these his considerable mathematical skills. Indian astronomers could not have achieved so much without a strong tradition of observation, and the 22nd chapter of Brahmagupta's magnum opus, the Brahmagupta Siddhanta, dealt with a variety of astronomical instruments, most of which could be easily made by any good craftsman. Among them was a water clock, Ghadi Yantra, consisting of a bowl with a small hole at the bottom, which would sink in exactly 24 minutes, a ghadi, when placed over water. A gnomon, a short stick kept vertically for the study of the motion of its shadow. A graduated disc or half disc, and a scissor-like pair acting as a compass. Those instruments and the computational techniques applied to them were both adopted by later scholars. Brahmagupta also authored a manual of astronomical calculations which remained popular for centuries, as testified by Al-Biruni, the Persian savant who came to India in the 11th century as a part of Mahmud of Ghazni's entourage. Al-Biruni was deeply interested in Indian astronomical techniques, wrote about them at length, and translated texts by Varamir and Brahmagupta into Arabic or Persian. Bhaskaracharya brought important innovations to both astronomical and mathematical techniques, discussing in particular the mean and true positions of planets, the triple problem of time, direction, and place, the risings and settings and conjunctions of the planets, eccentric and epicyclic theories for their motions of planets, and a large number of astronomical instruments. Overall, Bhaskaracharya greatly improved upon the formulas and methods adopted by earlier Indian astronomers. During those centuries, astronomy's interface with the general public was mostly through calendars and panchangs and the prediction of eclipses, which had great religious and social significance. Indeed, an astronomer's fame was guaranteed if he could accurately predict the occurrence, nature, and duration of eclipses, and numerous inscriptions record a king's reward to such an astronomer. Another interface was architecture, and many temples show clear astronomical alignments with events such as the sunrise at solstices and equinoxes. The Sringeri temple is an example of that, whose mandap is dedicated to the 12 Rashis or signs of the zodiac. Some of the pillars are aligned to the sunrise on the two solstices. The widespread belief that there was virtually no progress in Indian astronomy and mathematics after Bhaskaracharya is based on a general ignorance of the intense developments that took place in the southern state of Kerala. The so-called Kerala School of Astronomy and Mathematics flourished there from the 14th to the 17th century, when networks of knowledge transmission in North India were severely disrupted in the wake of repeated invasions. Parameshwara, an author of some 30 works, was one of the foremost astronomers of the school and the founder of the Drake system, which improved the computations of eclipses and the positions of the planets and proved to be very popular. He emphasized the need to regularly correct formulas to bring them closer to actual observations. He was followed by Neelkant Somayaji, who, in his landmark Tantra Sangrah, carried out a major revision of the older Indian planetary model for the inferior planets, Budh and Shukra, and described them along with Mangal or Kuja, Brihaspati or Guru, and Shani as moving in eccentric orbits around the Sun. This achievement of the Kerala School of Astronomy is truly remarkable in the light of the fact that Neelkant preceded Copernicus, the propounder of the heliocentric theory in Europe. It seems unlikely, however, that Indian heliocentrism directly influenced European advances in the field. About the same time, a complex interface with Islamic astronomy took place, which, among other benefits, brought instruments such as the astrolabe to India. The famous and massive Yantra Mantra or Jantar Mantar observatories built in the early 18th century by the Maharaja of Jaipur, Savai Jai Singh, represent a convergence between Indian, Arabic and European astronomy. In a general way, Indian astronomers were more interested in efficient methods of computation than in theoretical models. Some of the techniques used to calculate planetary positions and eclipses yielded remarkably precise results, and impressed by their speed, European astronomers such as Lee Gentil, a French savant who stayed in Puducherry for 2 years to observe a solar transit of Venus in June 1769. Odia astronomer Samant Chandrasekhar Simha, also known as the Pathani Samant, was completely insulated from European astronomy and authored in 1869 a voluminous Siddhant Darpan. He was one such extraordinary naked eye astronomer from India, much like Copernicus, Tycho Brahe and others, whose groundbreaking work was based on naked eye observations using mathematics and simple apparatus developed by him. Although traditional tables and even calculation methods survived well into the 19th century, the introduction of modern astronomy brought to a close India's own developments in this science. But India, in many ways, had contributed to the growth of the new science, as some of the techniques developed by Indian astronomers and mathematicians had been relayed to Europe centuries earlier through Arabs. Indeed, Indian astronomy interacted not only with Islamic and European astronomies, but also with Chinese astronomy, in complex interplays that invariably enriched all. To sum it all up, India, who made the first mark in astronomy, had significant influence on other civilizations' early development in the field. Although Indians could not make any significant progress In recent times, due to stagnant research, India is now catching up and competing neck to neck with the leaders of space technology.